The night shift at St. Jude Harbor Hospital feels slow, almost friendly, until alarms start. A middle-aged man named Paul is stable, chatting and joking about the cafeteria coffee. His nurse Carla scans the barcode, checks the order, and hangs the IV bag. The medication is correct, the dose is correct, and the timing is textbook perfect. 10 minutes later, Paul's breathing tightens like someone quietly cinched a belt. His blood pressure drops, his skin pales, and the monitor begins shouting in flat beeps. Dr. Ben runs the code, and every step matches protocol down to the comma. They push the antidotes, they ventilate, and they do everything the guidelines demand. Paul dies anyway, and the chart looks so clean it feels insulting. Pharmacy logs match. Lot numbers match, and the vial label matches the purchasing record. It looks like rock-solid bad luck, or a cruel biology fluke. Except Carla swears the smell was different, like sharp plastic and peppermint. And Ben notices something else. Something small that makes his stomach cold. The drug name is right, yet the effect is wrong, like reality-swapped versions. Maya works 3 floors down in the hospital pharmacy, where problems arrive before sunrise. She is a pharmacology consultant, half scientist, half detective, always carrying a pocket magnifier. Maya used to audit manufacturing plants for the FDA before burnout and politics. Now she helps hospitals verify high-risk medications, especially the ones that save lives fast. Ben calls her while the code team still wipes sweat from their foreheads. He says the paperwork is perfect, and that scares him more than chaos. Maya arrives with coffee, gloves, and the calm voice people trust in emergencies. She asks for the empty vial, the IV bag, and every printed label. Carla hands over the bag, still trembling, and whispers about the peppermint smell. Maya doesn't laugh, because smell can be a clue in manufacturing shortcuts. She checks the national drug code, the lot number, and the supplier invoice. Everything points to a legitimate distributor in New Jersey with a spotless history. Maya opens the hospital's medication cabinet logs and pulls time-stamped access records. No missing entries appear, and the controlled access chain stays unbroken. That should mean innocence. Yet Paul still died like the drug-turned traitor. Maya walks to the ICU window and watches families pace the hallway. She knows a batch can cross the country before anyone hears one whisper of danger. A single contaminated lot could already be headed toward retail pharmacies by morning. If that happens, the victims won't be one unlucky patient behind one hospital door. They will be scattered across cities, looking unrelated, filed under complications and natural causes. Maya calls an old friend at a state lab, a chemist named Jordan. She asks for priority testing. Full stereochemistry included, not just purity and potency. Jordan pauses, then agrees, because Maya never asks for nothing without reason. Maya tells Ben one sentence that lands like a weight on his desk. If this is chirality, we're looking at a perfect label hiding a lethal twin. Ben blinks, because he remembers a lecture, but not the nightmare version. Maya sets her stake clearly, because stakes keep people moving through fear. She must stop the shipment before it reaches community pharmacies and home medicine cabinets. Maya explains the idea in the simplest way, because panic hates jargon. She grabs 2 identical disposable gloves from a box and holds them up. Same glove brand, same size, same color, and same material, she says. Now try wearing the left glove on your right hand. Ben tries, and the fingers twist awkwardly, proving sameness can still fail. Maya nods. Because molecules can behave exactly like those gloves. Some molecules come in 2 mirror versions, called enantiomers, left-handed and right-handed. They share the same atoms, the same bonds, and even the same formula. If you draw them, they look nearly identical, like a reflection in glass. But your body is not a symmetrical hallway full of matching doors. Your enzymes, receptors, and transport proteins are chiral, shaped with a preferred twist. So the left drug can fit a receptor like a key. The right mirror drug can bounce off, jam, or activate the wrong pathway. Maya pulls a small keychain from her pocket, with 2 keys taped together. One is real, she says, and one is a perfect mirror copy. Ben studies them, and both keys look convincing at first glance. Maya points at the teeth and shows how the angles reverse subtly. The mirror key slides into the lock, then refuses to turn. That's chirality, Maya says. Same look, different handshake with biology. Carla asks why any company would ever make the wrong version. Maya answers with another simple truth that sounds like a warning. Sometimes chemistry makes both versions, and you must separate them carefully. She sketches on a notepad, drawing a carbon center like a tiny crossroads. Attach 4 different groups, and you create handedness, like a screw thread. A right-hand screw goes in smoothly, while a left-hand screw fights you. Maya adds that some drugs are sold as mixtures, called racemates. Sometimes that's fine, because one side works and the other is harmless. Sometimes it's dangerous, because the mirror side causes side effects or worse. She doesn't say thalidomide out loud, but the ghost hangs in the room. Ben asks how labs can tell which hand they have. Maya smiles, because the answer is where science becomes a flashlight. You can measure optical rotation, you can use chiral chromatography, you can use NMR tricks. Those tests don't care about labels, because they read the molecule's real geometry. And here's the scary part. Maya says, keeping her voice steady, a counterfeit batch can be chemically pure, yet biologically wrong. It can pass basic purity tests, because purity doesn't mean correct-handedness, Carla whispers. So the drug can be perfect poison. Maya nods once, because the simplest sentence is sometimes the sharpest. Yes, she says, a mirror drug can look right and act deadly. Jordan's lab sends an early report, and Maya reads it twice in silence. The sample is clean, no heavy metals, no weird solvents, no bacterial contamination. Potency matches the label with intolerance, which should be reassuring, but isn't. Maya asks Jordan, what about enantiomeric purity, specifically the active isomer ratio? Jordan replies with one line that makes the room feel smaller. The ratio is flipped, like someone poured the mirror into the vial. Maya takes the report to the hospital's pharmacy director, a man named Rick. Rick glances at it, then shrugs, because flipped ratios sound like academic trivia. He says the supplier is licensed, the invoice is legitimate, and legal will panic. Maya hears the subtext, because she has heard it her entire career. If you raise an alarm without a body count, you become the problem. Ben backs her, but even he sounds uncertain under the fluorescent lights. Maya calls the distributor, and the account manager recites compliance phrases like prayers. They insist their lots match the manufacturer's certificate of analysis every single time. Maya requests retained samples from the same lot, and they promise a callback. Hours pass, and the callback never comes, which is an answer by itself. Meanwhile, the hospital's remaining vials sit in a locked cabinet like quiet threats. Maya orders an internal hold, and Rick fights her, citing shortage pressure. She counters with one question that leaves him no safe place to stand. How many clean charts do you want to sign after people die? Rick grudgingly agrees to quarantine the lot, but he refuses a public report. Maya feels the clock, because outside the hospital more shipments keep moving. The batches are identical on paper, and paper is winning the argument. The next morning, Maya drives to a partner clinic in Newark for a quiet check. She carries a cooler, evidence bags, and the lab report like a loaded confession. A nurse there mentions a strange reaction last week, logged as an allergy flare. The patient had no allergy history, yet crashed after the same medication. Maya asks for the vial, and the lot number matches Paul's exactly. She feels anger rise, not theatrical anger, but focused mechanical anger. She visits a second clinic, then a third, following purchase records like breadcrumbs. In each place, she hears variations of the same story, always minimized. Unexpected reaction, rare sensitivity, patient was complicated, could be anything. But the pattern tightens around the same dose timing and the same symptoms: shortness of breath, sudden drop, chest tightness, and a weird peppermint plastic smell. Maya records every detail, because details are how you win against denial. She calls Jordan again and asks for blind testing on multiple retained vials. Jordan confirms the same flipped chirality in every sample from that lot. Now the randomness argument collapses, because randomness doesn't repeat that neatly. Maya drafts a report for the state health department and copies the FDA hotline. Rick complains she is overreacting because bureaucracy hates early alarms. Maya replies, "This isn't early, Rick. It's just finely visible." Ben brings another chart, another death, and the paper stays clean again. Maya decides the only way through is speed, not consensus. An FDA investigator named Ethan calls Maya back, voice low and practical. He says her stereochemistry data is serious, but supply chains are messy. A licensed distributor can still be a victim, or a doorway, or both? Ethan asks one question that forces Maya to think like a thief. If you wanted to swap mirror enantiomers, where would you do it? Maya answers without hesitation, because chemistry suggests the crime scene. You do it after packaging, because labels and seals build trust. She suspects diversion, where real product is siphoned and replaced with convincing fakes. Ethan shares a clue, because federal people trade clues like currency. Several states have flagged suspicious repackaging vendors with shifting addresses and shell names. Maya pulls shipping manifests and notices a temperature stabilization service subcontractor. That service sounds harmless, yet it touches boxes between manufacturer and pharmacy. She searches corporate filings and finds the same registered agent on multiple companies. The companies share phone numbers, but different names, like masks in a drawer. Maya meets Ethan at a diner near an industrial park because secrets like booths. They map the route. Manufacturer to distributor to stabilization, warehouse to pharmacies. The warehouse is the only place with unsupervised time and private labeling capability. Ethan calls it gray space, where paperwork looks legal while reality turns criminal. Maya asks how you could manufacture the mirror enantiomer at scale. Ethan says it could be outsourced overseas, then blended to match potency tests. Maya adds a sharper point, because stereochemistry allows a clever counterfeit. They can deliver chemically pure mirror compound, then spike minimal active isomer. Basic assays read correct potency, while the body reads wrong geometry. Ethan nods, because the scam is elegant in the ugliest way. Now they have an opponent, not fate, and opponents can be caught. Maya learns a truck is scheduled to move the next pallet that night. If it reaches regional retail warehouses, the lot will scatter like dandelion seeds. Ethan can request a hold, but paperwork moves slower than trucks. So Maya chooses the expensive option, the kind that risks careers. She and Ethan drive to the stabilization warehouse with local police support. The building looks ordinary, bright lights, loading bays, and a security guard yawning. Inside, they find pallets labeled with the correct manufacturer branding and intact seals. Everything looks compliant, which is exactly the problem with modern counterfeiting. Maya asks for the chain of custody logs, and the supervisor stalls politely. Ethan flashes federal credentials, and politeness collapses into nervous efficiency. Maya swabs packaging tape for residue, because residue tells stories labels cannot. Jordan's lab later confirms trace solvents inconsistent with the manufacturer's standard process. They open a pallet and find inner boxes with micro misprints, barely visible. One barcode digit spacing is off, a detail only a bored perfectionist would notice. Maya feels grim relief, because proof is a lever that moves institutions. Ethan calls the FDA Emergency Operations Line and initiates a formal recall request. Rick gets the public email and panics, because panic loves bright subject lines. Pharmacies receive alerts, and shelves get cleared faster than anyone admits possible. News stations pick it up, and the story becomes mysterious drug deaths. Maya hates the headline, but she accepts the trade for fewer funerals. That night costs her, because corporations do not enjoy being embarrassed publicly. But the lot is blocked, and the mirror medicine stops traveling. With the immediate danger contained, Maya expects the motive to be profit. Counterfeiters usually chase fast money, and people's bodies become collateral. Yet Ethan shows her something that doesn't match the usual criminal math. The counterfeit lot is unusually targeted toward high-end hospital networks and private clinics. Those buyers pay more, but they also test more, making counterfeit harder. A normal profiteer would flood small markets, not sharpen a knife at the top. Maya reviews timing and notices deaths cluster around one corporate healthcare system. That system owns multiple specialty clinics, a private insurer branch, and a research wing. Its parent company's stock dipped sharply after the first rumors reached finance bloggers. Maya wonders who benefits from fear, not from sales, and the answer shifts. Ethan brings trading data from an SEC contact, presented as unusual activity. Large short positions appeared days before the first death, then expanded aggressively. After each incident, the stock dropped more, and the short positions gained value. Then, quietly, a set of funds began buying shares at the depressed price. Maya asks who controls those funds, because ownership is often the true weapon. The trail leads through shells, then through a family office, then to a name. Victor runs a private equity group with a history of hostile healthcare acquisitions. He tried to buy the clinic network last year and got rejected publicly. Now the network looks unsafe, mismanaged, and liable. Exactly as headlines scream. Maya feels sick because the motive is not chaos, but a planned discount. The deaths are not collateral. They are the lever used to break valuation. Ethan explains the full play. Because federal investigators love complete diagrams. You crash confidence, you trigger lawsuits, you force emergency spending, and you bleed cash. Then you offer rescue financing, buy debt, and convert it into ownership later. Maya realizes the mirror drug was chosen for one reason: plausible deniability. Paperwork stays clean, reactions look like rare complications, and blame spreads everywhere. Victor can shrug and say, tragic, but medicine is complicated. Maya thinks about Paul's clean chart, and anger becomes a steady fuel. They weren't just killing patients. They were sculpting a market event. The mysterious deaths are a financial instrument, disguised as biology. Maya and Ethan build a case like engineers, not like movie heroes. They combine stereochemistry lab results, packaging residue, and shipping gray space logs. They add corporate filings linking the warehouse subcontractor to Victor's shell companies. Ethan secures warrants, and suddenly doors open that used to stay locked. In a small office, they find a laptop with encrypted files and a careless note. The note lists rotation targets, meaning optical rotation. The fingerprint of chirality. Maya smiles once, because criminals always underestimate how nerdy evidence can be. Jordan testifies that the samples show high enantiomeric excess of the wrong isomer. He explains it plainly. The molecules are mirrors, and the body chooses sides. A second expert confirms the manufacturer's process couldn't accidentally flip the ratio that far. That means deliberate substitution, not a manufacturing glitch or random degradation. The warehouse supervisor cuts a deal because prison makes honesty suddenly affordable. He admits they received special drums of active ingredient and blending instructions. He thought it was harmless supply stabilization because the paperwork said so. Maya points out the lethal part was invisible unless you test stereochemistry. Regulators update recall guidance, urging chiral analysis for specific high-risk drugs. Retail chains comply fast because lawsuits are persuasive teachers. Victor is arrested on fraud, conspiracy, and charges tied to patient harm. In court, his lawyers try to hide behind complexity, but science is clearer. Maya watches the jury react when Jordan demonstrates chirality with mirrored gloves. A simple visual wins where 1,000 spreadsheets would lose attention. The clinic network stabilizes because the threat was engineered, not systemic incompetence. Patients get safer protocols, including tighter vendor checks and retained sample testing. Rick apologizes quietly, and Maya accepts it without warmth because people died. Ben thanks her with tired eyes, and Carla finally sleeps a full night. Ethan offers Maya a formal role because she proved she can move fast. Maya agrees on one condition: because she learned what clean charts can hide. Every investigation will treat stereochemistry as real, not optional, not academic trivia. The mirror medicine is off the streets, and the supply chain is patched. Maya gains reputation, influence, and a sharper sense of what evil can wear. It can wear a correct label, a perfect barcode, and paperwork that looks holy, and it can still be wrong-handed, turning healing into harm with a silent twist.